This right here was my face in the beginning of 2021 when I was 17 years old. Here we have my face around 1.5 years later, 2022. If you want to know the practical tips on how to cure severe acne just like I did, then keep watching this video. I will not show you these tips like 95% of YouTube videos, like drinking more water and washing your face. Instead, I'm going to show you things that actually worked for me in order to get better skin and skyrocket my confidence. As a disclaimer, I am just a kid from Germany and not a dermatologist, so please excuse me when I say things that aren't scientifically correct. First of all, I want to start this guide with my story, because I know that a lot of young people out there feel the same and can relate to me. The first time I noticed some small pimples was at around age 15. As you can see, it still looked completely normal and it were only a very few pimples. As the months went on, these small pimples just started to get more and more. Having a little bit of acne at this age is quite common, that's why I didn't bother about it too much. As the months went on, my skin just kept getting worse and worse. I started searching on YouTube how to get better skin, and I started watching these bullshit videos, where they either showed you like 10 different products which cost like 50 euros each, or they gave you tips like washing your pillowcase more often and drinking a lot of water. I'm not saying that these tips don't work, but more on that later. At this point I actually started going to my normal doctor and they prescribed me things like benzoyl peroxide, which didn't actually do anything for me besides bleaching my bed sheets and my t-shirts. Fast forward to age 16 and my skin just got so bad. For some reason, I didn't go to the dermatologist, probably because I still had the hope that my acne is just puberty related, and it will heal itself eventually. This was a very big mistake. This was also the time when I started to feel really insecure about my skin. I started to go out less and I actually didn't allow anyone to take pictures of me. If me and my friends, for example, were taking a group photograph, I was always awkwardly going away, trying to hide my face, because I felt so disgusting. At this time, my anxiety and my depression skyrocketed, and there were many occasions in school where I was too insecure to go outside and hang out with my friends. So I would either hide away in the bathroom cabin for 20 minutes until literally the motion detector for the light would turn off, because it thought there was no one inside anymore. Or I would be outside with my friends, totally insecure in my thoughts while wearing a mask, even though we didn't have to wear masks outside. Because I felt so insecure though, and the face masks actually made my acne worse, I started skipping school for maybe half of the days in the week for months, which really dragged down my grades and made my social anxiety worse. There were so many occasions when I woke up in the morning and there was literally yellow goo on my pillowcase because one of my pimples popped during the night. For some reason I was still occasionally dating girls, but I would only meet up with them in the dark because you could see less of my skin. So there was this one girl and we just met outside in the evening, and it was already dark and we just met to walk around and have a nice chat. When it was time for her to get her bus and we arrived at the bus stop, there was this bright top-down light, and this made me feel so insecure that I stopped looking at her so she couldn't see my face anymore. And acting like a complete weirdo, literally having a conversation with her without looking her in the eyes, while trying to cover my face with my hands as much as possible. As you may think, we never met again afterward. In January 2021, I finally went to the dermatologist and they prescribed me Accutane, and from this day on, my skin and my anxiety improved every week. This right here was my face after 1 year on Accutane. As you can see, my skin isn't perfect, but I definitely improved a lot. This is how I treated my acne. First of all, we need to differentiate between two different types of acne. So there's puberty/hygiene related acne, and then there is genetic acne. All of these tips on how to get rid of acne, like washing your face more often, washing your pillowcase every 2 days, or drinking lots of water, may help if you have hygiene related acne. These tips can help if you have real acne, so genetic acne, but they won't cure it. The most important thing, as soon as you notice your acne getting worse and things like washing your face don't really help you anymore, you need to go to a dermatologist as soon as possible. The thing with acne is that the longer you have it, the more potential scars you will develop. And these scars can take years to get rid of. That's why we want to treat the acne as soon as possible. Do not do my mistake and wait for 1 year in the hopes of it curing itself. Because even if it does cure itself over time, when you're maybe 23 years old, you will have so much more scars compared to if you just went to the dermatologist earlier. Once you're at the dermatologist, they will probably prescribe you either topical treatments like benzoyl peroxide or pills like antibiotics or Accutane. As I told you earlier, the benzoyl peroxide and these antibiotics didn't do anything for me, so you can try them out if you want to, but I would recommend you to jump to Accutane as soon as possible. What Accutane does is kind of prevent oil production in your whole body, making your skin produce less sebum, which stops acne from developing in the first place. Accutane worked wonders for me and it almost completely got rid of my acne. I've read on the internet that there is a very small percentage of people out there which do not respond to Accutane. If I'm being honest, I don't really know what other options out there are available, so please talk to your doctor about this. But I still advise every person who is struggling with severe acne to try it out, because it is the acne treatment which has the highest success rate. I was 177 centimeters and around 55 kilograms when I started Accutane, and I took a 10 milligram dose daily. Your dose must be adapted to each individual, so it's best to discuss this with your dermatologist. In my experience, it's better to rather be taking a dose which is a bit too low instead of taking one which is too high. The high dose might show you results faster, but the chance of side effects does increase. As for the side effects, I only experienced very minor ones. These included dry skin, lips and hair, and this could easily be treated with a lot of moisturizer, lip balm and hair oil. And for the first 3 months I did experience some slight joint pain in my knees when exercising, but this went away after some time. A friend of mine took double the dose of me and he often had itching eyes and nosebleeds, so I do recommend you to take a low dose. I also advise you not to obsess about the side effects, because this can really make you anxious and might actually trigger some of the psychological ones. I personally didn't even read the list of side effects and I didn't experience any except for the ones I listed. Side effects are real, but most of them only happen to a very small percentage of people, like for every drug out there. If you take a low dose, you should be fine. While on Accutane, I also had monthly blood checkups at my dermatologist, so you would probably have to do the same. Accutane was the only drug which worked for me, as well as topical retinoids, but more on that later. Do's and do nots. The number one most important thing to keep in mind is do not pop your pimples. Because I felt so insecure about my acne, I instinctively tried to get rid of it by physically removing it with my hands. I would often spend hours standing in front of the mirror and popping each and every pimple. This made everything so much worse. Popping your pimples and rupturing your skin creates a wound with this kind of crust on it. If you keep peeling off the crust and creating new wounds, you will get acne scars. These can take years until they're not visible anymore, so please do not touch your skin. This also makes your existing acne worse. Many of you have noticed that when you pop a pimple, 9 times out of 10 it actually comes back worse. The best way to deal with a pimple is to leave it alone completely. I know how hard this is and I definitely couldn't resist it, but if you want to learn from my mistakes, then please listen to me. It is only for your benefit. When having these pimple pop sessions, I was kinda sucked into this tunnel, just mindlessly doing it even though I knew it was bad for me. It was almost like an addiction. The thing that helps you the most in this situation is daily meditation. By meditating daily, we can get more mindful in what we are doing and almost get this second thought before doing something impulsive, like popping pimples but also binge eating or masturbating. The second tip is to not waste your time bothering about the over-the-counter medications. When I was around 15 years old and my acne started to get worse, I tried using these 3-in-1 get rid of acne in 2 days type of products from the drugstore. These products are a complete waste of money and time. They may work if you have a small pimple because you don't wash your face, but they do absolutely nothing against cystic acne, like most of you people watching this are probably experiencing. This might sound harsh, but do not listen to people who don't have experience in this topic, even if it's your family. I love my family more than everything, and they tried to help me out a ton. The problem was that they didn't knew anything about acne, so their advice was oftentimes not the best. One time my sister recommended me this cream with zinc inside, as you can see here. This did absolutely nothing and just made my skin worse. Do not focus on these things, instead focus on the few things that I'm about to show you. Accutane does make your skin more sensitive to sunlight, so I advise you to use sunscreen every single day when you go outside, especially in the summer. The amount of sunscreen and the level of SPF really depends on how bright your skin is, but for my skin type I always used 50. You might get away with a lower one, but you have to see this for yourself. Just keep in mind that sun exposure on Accutane does make your scars take longer to fade away, and there's always the risk of potential skin cancer, so please do not take long sun baths in the summer without sunscreen, especially if you live in a warmer place. Your skin on your face and your body does burn way quicker on Accutane. Here I want to show you my current skincare I use to keep getting rid of my acne scars and to prevent more acne from coming up. Keep in mind that this does not replace Accutane. If you really struggle with acne, no amount of topical skincare will cure it for you. Get on Accutane as soon as possible and then focus on these things. So every morning I use a cleanser. It doesn't really matter what kind of one you use. I personally use one with salicylic acid. I don't really know if there's any benefit to this, but it's the one I used for years and it worked for me quite fine. After that I use moisturizer. I currently use this one. I have tried out different ones and I would recommend you to use lighter ones which do not contain as much oil. It really depends on how dry your skin is. If you have really dry and flaky skin, you might get away with a heavier, more oily one. But for very oily skin, I would recommend you to use the one which is more on the lighter side. In the evening, I usually only wash my skin with warm water. Every couple of days I apply a topical retinoid. I've been using this one for 2 years now. I got it prescribed by my dermatologist and it contains 0.3% adapalene and 2.5% benzoyl peroxide. There are also versions which have less adapalene inside, but you need to check for yourself which version works the best for you. You need to be careful though, because this can bleach your clothes. So what I always do is take off my t-shirt and be shirtless, and then apply this and go to sleep. You do not want to apply it and then take off your shirt to go to sleep, because your shirt might touch your skin and get bleached. Here are some pictures of my bed sheets and my clothes. This retinoid did wonders for me, especially for treating my scars. You do need to be careful though, because this can dry out your skin and be quite strong. I met a guy who told me that this completely dried out the skin, leaving it even more scarred than before. So I would advise you to use this maybe once a week and then slowly build yourself up. Afterwards I just apply my moisturizer. Around every week to every 2 weeks I also add this chemical peeling. It is the 30% AHA, 2% BHA solution by The Ordinary. It just helps to remove dead skin cells and remove those scars. Be sure to use sunscreen now after you use it, especially if you're currently on Accutane and if it's summer. I will not recommend you a sunscreen because the one I always used was actually quite trash, and I am currently trying to figure out which one to use. So if anyone can recommend a sunscreen, he or she can comment it and I will pin the comment for you guys.